Macca, a world champion in triathlon. Probably one of the most driven athletes and most professional athletes that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And the guy pays attention to every little detail. He's got a demeanor about him that's kind of laid back, so he's easy to work with.
I have no expertise in fitting. I just ride bikes for a living, and predominantly my positions come about through comfort first, and it was good having that reinforced with Scott. Fortunately enough for me, my symmetry is pretty good. I don't have any major discrepancy in bone length or anything like that, so that gave us a good neutral position to work from. My seat height was pretty good. My distance behind the bottom bracket, where I'd gravitated towards over the last 5 or 6 years, was pretty much smack on. And the fact that I was where I was at the front and my arm position was good for my build. So it was, but to have that reinforced with the data, to have that reinforced by a guy who does this with some of the best cyclists in the world is it's nice.
The reality is you don't get to be a world champion without having a good position to some degree. And I think that a real credit to Macca is that he's very intuitive into his position. And the position that he created himself was actually really pretty good. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of things that he'd done wrong. Yet at the same point in time, there were some places that we could make improvements that he wasn't aware of.
I was on the Toupe saddle, which was a lovely saddle, and I just found it dropped off too small for me. So now I've migrated to the Romin, and it is night and day.
In the past, Macca has ridden 130 saddles for the same reason a lot of pros ride them, is that they're smaller, so therefore they're lighter, so therefore they must be better. The reality is even though Macca is not a real big guy, his sit bones are fairly far apart in his pelvis. So we needed to get him a saddle that supported him on his sit bones, and we went with a Romin 155. A couple of reasons. One, the shape of the Romin allows him to get as much pelvic rotation as possible, so he can recruit his glutes to their full advantage, as well as then the width supporting his ischial tuberosity. So he's actually sitting on bone. And with the Romin, it's designed for an aero position or an aggressive position, so that the rider can be in the aero bars or on a road bike down on the drops for extended periods of time without causing pressure to the perineum. And so, it's going to be a comfortable saddle to sit in that aero position for 112 miles.
Often I read some of the chat room sites about when, especially after Kona or World Championship events, where people critique your position. You pretend you don't take any of that into account, but you do. You look at the photos and people draw their things, and you might make small adjustments.
If you read over and over and over again online from total strangers who've never even been in the same room as you that it could be better, or that you're doing something wrong, he actually made changes based on things that he'd read on the internet. I'll have people standing in front of me and say, well, can't you just look at me and tell me what I need to do? And the reality is until I've done a full physical assessment and understand the rider's strengths, weaknesses, and capabilities in terms of how those are going to relate on the bike, there's no way that I can simply just look at somebody and say, oh, you need to look like this. Without that information, you're purely guessing. They can lead to serious injury. I mean, if it's something that's not correct for that body.
Everyone has an opinion, but the great thing about it now is that I have an answer to those opinions, and the reason why I've moved to this position, the reason why I'm using this saddle, and I'm confident now. I know why I'm in this position. I know why I'm comfortable here. I know why it's optimal for me. I know why I'm using the equipment I'm using. So I dare someone to attack me, because I've got all the answers now.